Hello, everyone. This will be my week two NFL week two recap video. Um, if you watched the last video I gave out, like my picks for today, I ended up going 7-5-1. We picked the whole slate. The one that pushed was the Rams. They came through the field goal at the end, which a lot of people are upset about. But yeah, so I'll probably do the same for next week. Um, so let's get started. We'll start with Jags Chiefs. This game was horrible for the Jags. I thought like I thought I don't know. I just thought they had more than that. I don't know. They just Trevor Lawrence really struggled. They got to the end zone four times, maybe even more. Well, they got to the end zone more than four times, but they Trevor there were four times where Trevor Lawrence threw his receiver out of bounds. Like if he had thrown it just like a little softer, they would have had four touchdowns. He did this four times, and they didn't get in the end zone once. Just settled for field goals. And so that was really frustrating because like Trevor Lawrence did that at the start of last season, throwing receivers out of bounds. And he got better at it as the season went on and went on to be pretty good in the red zone, especially that game against the Chargers in the playoffs. So at the start of the season, we're all kind of hoping, like, okay, like, let's pick up where he left off, And he didn't. He looks like he did at the beginning of last year, which is really frustrating because, like, I think he has it in him to be really good. And the Jags have been bad for so long; they deserve like a good quarterback and a good team. So that was frustrating. And another thing I thought was like Doug Peterson needs to go back to calling the plays. For some reason, they switched it. They gave the play calling to Press Taylor, and I didn't like it. They didn't run the ball. They were on like the 1 yard line, and they didn't sneak it. They didn't run the ball. They did some shitty QB run, ended up losing 5 yards. It's like, what are we doing? And it, I don't know. It just was not good. And Doug Peterson needs to go back to play calling because the reason that the Eagles won that Super Bowl was because Doug Peterson was perfect at play calling, you know? So I don't understand that at all. And he said at the end of the game in the press conference that Press Taylor's going to continue calling plays. It's just like, what are we doing here? So I didn't like that. Calvin Ridley, they didn't really connect that well. Um, I mentioned Chris Jones just got paid, so he didn't play week one. He played week two. Um, and the Jags O line had some injuries, so I was like, I'm kind of worried Chris Jones will, you know, be a factor with their bad O line. And it turns out he was insanely good. He broke up so many plays. Uh, Probably really the reason why the Chiefs won that game was Chris Jones. So yeah, I don't know. The game from a Jack's perspective, that game was disappointing. I thought they would have done better. Um, I have it on my notes. One more thing, like Josh Allen, he left with injury in the second half. He left with the injury, and it was definitely noticeable. They could not get a stop because of that. Yeah. So that game is disappointing. Let's go to Bears Bucks. I got this one right. I picked the Bucks, minus 2.5, I think. And the Bucks look good. Um, Mike Evans had a day. Um, Baker was good. He didn't throw them out of the game like he used to. I think Godwin was good, and the defense was pretty good. And so for the Bears, I think it's time to have a discussion about Justin Fields. I like the guy, and he has a lot of natural physical talent, but it's just not coming together. He's making horrible reads. He's taking sacks. He's inaccurate. And the team doesn't help. The team is just awful, and the coaching staff and structure and play calling is horrible. The plays themselves are horrible. They keep trying to force like screen passes, but they just aren't working. They always get shut down for a loss. Today they had a screen pass pick six. Just Justin Fields just handed it to the guy on like the 4 yard line, and that sealed the game. Um, and that happened last year too. Like in the press conference last year, Justin Fields was like, "Yeah, I'll never let a pick six happen on another screen pass again." It's like, well, here we are. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think Chicago needs to go into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, which sucks because I don't know. I feel like Justin Fields has potential. It's just not coming together. Next we got Bengals Ravens. I didn't catch too much of this one. You know, it's kind of hard to watch every second of every game. I try my best, but um. So yeah, Bengals were sloppy. Um, I got this one wrong. I thought Bengals would bounce back. They did not. Burrow looked horrible. I don't know what's going on. I guess it's his calf. You know, he didn't play in training camp, but I thought by now he would be good again. But no, he looks bad. He's moving slowly, and he can't really. I guess it's his calf. He can't really bail the pocket anymore, and because of that, other teams are having very successful with the blitz. I saw a stat on SportsCenter earlier. That Joe Burrow is 32nd in the NFL against the blitz, which is really concerning. He had a really bad interception in the red zone, I think, in the third quarter. Um, I don't know. It's time to be concerned about the Bengals. They did start 0-2 last year, and they came back. You know, went to the AFC Championship game. Um, excuse me. But starting off 0-2 to two divisional opponents, like I just don't. It is very hard to come back from that. They gotta. They basically gotta win every divisional game from here on out. And if Joe isn't healthy, that's not gonna happen. I thought the Ravens were did pretty well. Lamar played very well, and OBJ got injured. You know, before the season started, I thought the Ravens could have a year like the Eagles did last year, if that makes sense, where they kind of just came out of nowhere and just dominate, but they just can't stay healthy. Every year, they just can't stay healthy. But they have the potential to win the AFC. I just don't. They, like I said, they just got to stay healthy. But it's looking likely that they could win their division, especially after beating the Bengals today. Um, Up next, we got Seahawks Lions. I got this one right. I had Seahawks plus 4.5. Seahawks won outright, anyways. This game was good. This was a shootout. one thing I've noticed is Seattle's offensive tackles are horrible. I thought they were I thought they would be able to compete with the Niners this year, but if their offensive tackles are this bad, then they aren't. They aren't gonna with Bosa and them. It's not gonna happen. Uh, and their defense wasn't great. Like I said, it was a shootout. But for the good side of it, I think I think it's okay to say now that Gino is their QB. I didn't know last season. I wasn't convinced. Like I thought, maybe he's gonna revert back to his old self. And the Rams game in week one definitely made me more cautious. But he looked great. He looked really good. Uh, and then Jared Goff for the Lions, he looked great as well. He had a pick six, which is like his first pick in a very long time. Um, but I thought this game was really interesting because both, if you go back to last year's draft, the Seahawks had Denver's pick, which was very high, and the Lions had the Rams pick, which was very high. And at that time, I thought, okay, I think the Lions are good with Jared Goff. They don't have to draft a QB with that spot. They can do something without, like, they can pick another high value player. But for the Seahawks, on the other hand, I was like, I'm not sure if Gino is the guy. They should probably take a quarterback here with this pick or trade up for a quarterback. And so today I thought they both proved to their franchises and fans that they can be the quarterback for their team. So I thought that was interesting. Uh, just some small notes to add. I thought the Lions kept having bad penalties and their defense kept slipping up at the wrong time. And yeah, it was a great game. I like that one. Up next we have Packers Falcons. This one I got right. I had the Falcons. Um, I don't have a lot on this. It looked like Green Bay couldn't stop the run, especially with Bijan. Um, Artie Smith was making like the right play calls and the right decisions, like going for it on certain downs and whatnot. I thought Jordan Love was solid. He played well. Ritter was pretty bad. Like, like, every time he threw the ball, it just felt like it was going to be a loss of down. But they had a great running game with him and Bijan. And it felt like once they got into the red zone, they trusted Ritter more with passing. Um, yeah, another interesting note I have about this game. Um, so I attend UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio. And last season, our football team played UT, which is where Bijan Robinson played at college. That was his last year. And watching UTSA try to tackle him was just hilarious. They could not bring him down. There was like points where, three defenders would be on him and it just wouldn't matter. And that's when I realized, like, yeah, this guy is going to be pretty good. And so far he's pretty good. So I think he's going to be awesome to watch. Up next we have Raiders Bills. This was a great bounce back game for the Bills. I got this one right. Bills minus 8.5. Um, yeah, the Bills are going to be fine. The Jets last week when they lost to the Jets just played them really well, and Josh Allen had some of his usual turnovers. He didn't have any turnovers today, but part of that is because the Raiders' defense is not good. Um, Jimmy G was doing Jimmy G things, quick passes, making the right plays, but also, turning it over, making incomplete passes. Jimmy G. Um, Devontae Adams is responsible for the entire offense on the Raiders. I still think it's kind of interesting he chose to go there. I know because, probably just the money. And so I can't really judge that, but it's like, man, like his talents are just being wasted on this team. It's kind of sad. I think the Raiders need to fire McDaniels. Every time he tries to become a head coach, he's just awful. I feel like the Raiders don't like him. I feel like the fans don't like him, and I feel like football fans everywhere just know that he's not that good. And the season before they hired McDaniels, I think his name was Rich Bisaccia. He was pretty good, and he got them to the playoffs. And then the next season they didn't hire him back. They got McDaniels, and they made some upgrades, I think, and they were just horrible. So I don't think McDaniels is good. Um, but yeah, good bounce back for the Bills. They're going to be just fine. Up next, we got Titans Chargers. This game was pretty good. I got this one right. Titans plus the three. Titans won outright. Um, if you go back to my other video when I made the pick, I basically just said, quote, Brandon Staley is a dumbass, unquote. Um, and that was enough to win the whole game because Brandon Staley is just awful. Justin Herbert's career is being wasted with this guy. Um, sorry, I'm just going through my notes real quick. It seemed like last week, granted they played Miami last week, and this week, they kept giving up the deep ball. It was just always there. And when Ryan Tannehill is killing you with the deep ball, you know you systematically have a problem. Last week Tannehill had 3 interceptions and a 28 quarterback rating. This week he had 83% completions, no interceptions, 123 rating, and 246 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Tannehill with with very old Hopkins. Like it's just I don't know. Brandon Staley just he makes the wrong decisions systematically. They're weak. They allowed 800 plus yards in these last 2 weeks, and yeah, it's just Herbert's career is just being wasted with this guy. And so I have a little, I guess, rant I'd like to go on. This guy, Brandon Staley, in the press conference afterwards, a reporter asked him, "Is there some carryover from blowing the 28-point lead in last year's playoffs?" And or not Herbert, Staley got really defensive and lashed out at the guy and was like, "There's no carryover. This is a completely new team, etc." And there's a contradiction there because there is a carryover, and it's the freaking coach. He's the carryover from that bad loss. He was the reason they lost that game because horrible play calling. He'd never run the ball in that game, let Jacksonville come back, and he's making the same decisions that are letting teams beat him. So I just that I didn't like that. That made me mad. Um, Yeah, so next week they play the Vikings. Both of those teams are 0-2. That one's going to be very interesting, and I'll be making a video, um, making the picks again, probably on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I'll try to do Tuesday, or maybe even tomorrow, Monday. It'll be up soon. Next we got Colts Texans. Not a whole lot here. Uh, Stroud versus Richardson. Richardson had 2 touchdowns. He looked great, but he got hurt again. And Stroud looked very good, despite, no receivers, no O-line, and no running game. Stroud looked very good. I think before the draft, I thought, Stroud was probably going to be the best quarterback here, but we'll see. Um, the Colts defense looked pretty good. Again, it's the Texans, though. Um, I think Colts fans should be really happy with Shane Steichen. I've watched the Eagles for a while now, and while he was the coordinator there, and he's a great play caller, and I think he's going to be a great coach. And you can kind of see the Eagles' offense doesn't quite look that good as of right now without Steichen. But you look at the Colts' offense, and it looks pretty reminiscent despite not having the players. But one thing he needs to do is protect Richardson more. He keeps calling up these quarterback runs for him, and he already has his second concussion of the season in week 2, and that's just not good. He needs to protect him more. If you go back to last season, Jalen Hurts sprained his shoulder because Steichen just kept running him out there. So he needs to be better about that. He needs to protect him more. Next we got Rams Niners. The first thing I wrote here is just that McCaffrey is insane. That dude, I could not imagine trying to tackle him. I don't, I don't know. He's just insane. Another thing I wrote is like, how many holds will the Niners defensive line cause this season? I bet it'd be like a record. Um, Stafford played pretty well until he had a fourth quarter interception, which kind of sealed their fate. Which is interesting. We all thought the Rams would be one of the worst teams in the league, but they're playing hard and they won last week. And had Stafford not thrown an interception in the fourth quarter, they definitely would have had a chance at winning. Oh, yeah. Also, by the way, this is the game that pushed. I had it at +7. Um, in my previous video, I picked Rams +7, but whatever. Um, but yeah, Niners, their defense, they swarm to the ball, if that makes sense. Like they'll try to make a play, like the offense, whoever the offense is will try to make a play, right? And before you know it, it's like 10 Niners are just burying him. They are for real. One thing I noticed, I don't know if it's even that big of a deal, is that Brock Purdy kind of struggled on his deep ball. But I don't even know if that really matters because their receivers are so good, their O line is so good, their running game is so good. Like they don't need a deep ball. So I don't know. I'm scared for when the Eagles play them. Next we have Giants Cardinals. This game was hilarious. The Giants looked horrible to start the half. Cardinals got up to 28-point lead. Um, and the whole NFL fandom was just laughing at the Giants. And then eventually, it seemed like the Cardinals started playing very conservative, like defensively, and Daniel Jones just slowly picked them apart. like found the open spots and just drove up the field every time. And they came back and won the game. And that's Jonathan Gannon. That's Gannon's defense. That's If you're a Cardinals fan, I'm so sorry this guy's your head coach. That's going to happen a lot. If a quarterback is experienced and you don't have like an all-time defensive line or whatever, Gannon is just going to have them sit back and guard the big play, but they're going to kill you slowly. And you're going to blow a lot of leads to experienced quarterbacks. Even Daniel Jones, I mean, he's not that good, but he has experience. And seeing Gannon's defense with not that good players, you're going to choke. And so, again, I'm so sorry if you're a Cardinals fan. That guy is a dumbass. And next we got Washington, Denver. This game was pretty crazy. Denver got out to a 21-3 run. Russ looked pretty good. Their defense looked great. And at about the 2-minute warning, Washington got the ball back and scored a touchdown. And then I think Denver turned it over, and then they got a field goal all before halftime within the 2-minute warning, 10 points. And then in the second half, the Washington's defense really stepped up. And I thought that Russ really struggled with that defensive line. Washington's defensive line is going to be really good this year. Um, Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson had great games. And like I said, Washington's D line was the difference. And a lot of people, oh, one more thing. Uh, Kareem Jackson on the Broncos had a big hit helmet to helmet on Logan Thomas. And it was his second headshot in a row. He had one last week. He got ejected. And this has me wondering about Bounty Gate. If you don't know what Bounty Gate was, basically Sean Payton, when he was coaching the Saints, he would pay his players for injuring other players. And I wonder if that's happening here. It would not surprise me because Sean Payton is an asshole and he deserves whatever bad things happen to him in life. And like how he handled the Nathaniel Hackett situation, it's just like what I don't know. This guy is not good. So I would not be surprised at all if he's running another bounty gate. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry if you're a Denver fan. I'm rooting against Sean Payton. Which and like you lose to the Raiders and then you blow a huge lead to Washington. Like I don't know, not great. um, and about Washington, before the season started, a lot of people had them as like a 5-win team or a 4-win team. And I just don't see that. I don't see how people thought that. Like they have a great D line. They have good receivers. They have a good running back. And if Sam Howell ends up being a good quarterback, like they're a good team, you know. I kind of think they'll be where the Giants were last year, how they made a wild card spot and kind of shocked everyone. I think that's how Washington will be this year. And then next we have Jets Cowboys. There's not a lot to say about this. I lost this one. I had Jets plus 9.5. Sauce Gardner almost had a pick six, but he ran before he got the ball, and then eventually the Cowboys scored on that drive. So I think if he got that, they probably would have covered, but it doesn't matter. I think the Jets are going to be looking for a quarterback here. Zach Wilson's not the answer. A lot of people say, well, he knows the offense and all that, but like that doesn't matter. Like he can't. I don't know why he's in the NFL to be honest. They they need I think they need to trade for Tyler Huntley from the Ravens. He's a good quarterback. he was their backup. He led them to the playoffs when Lamar was injured, and he almost won them that game against the Bengals. He's pretty good. I think the Jets should look into trading for him if they could. Also, I forgot to mention the last two games I just covered. I forgot to mention I had Giants +4 or -4. I didn't get that one, but I had Washington +4, and I got that one. And then finally, Patriots at Miami, or Miami at Patriots. I'm sorry. I had Patriots +2.5. Didn't get it. There were Patriots had two turnovers in the red zone. If they didn't turn that over, it's probably a very different game. The Patriots could not stop the run, and Tua would get the ball out within half a second almost, and they never adjusted, which is surprising. Like by halftime, you saw how quick Tua was getting the ball out, and they decided not to press despite like him throwing the pass half a second. I don't know. I thought if they pressed a little bit, they might have had more success defending them. Mac Jones is okay, nothing special. I'm not sure if he's the answer. He doesn't have a good deep ball, and he threw a pick, but that happens. Um, yeah, and so I guess a couple things here. I noticed online people keep talking about wanting to ban the QB sneak, and that just makes like no sense to me. Um, if you want to ban the QB sneak and like how players push the quarterback, if you want to get rid of that, then I ask you, are you going to get rid of defensive players helping their teammate tackle? Like when you see a defender try and tackle someone, right? And the offensive player just breaks through from it. So a lot of times, defenses will double up on a guy to tackle him. Well, that's the defense version of the QB sneak. So are you going to get rid of that? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it's football. Like, what are we doing? Like, there were so many teams today that had third and ones and fourth and ones and didn't do the QB sneak. And it's like, why? Why don't they do it? Um, Thinking my next video, I'll do week three, maybe a Monday Night Football reaction. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'll do week three picks and preview, and I might work on like season long predictions. Like maybe that's a separate video, maybe that's part of the same video. Yeah, and then I thought maybe a question I could ask you guys, you leave in the comments is how do you watch NFL? Um, so for example, I like the Eagles, so I'll watch whatever game they're on. But so they played Thursday, right? And so today I just watched Red Zone all day. It was amazing. I loved it. And then watched, Sunday Night Football. So yeah, if you watch Red Zone or if you just watch whatever's on or if you watch a specific team, let me know in the comments. I think that'd be really interesting. Sometimes I wonder, like, is Red Zone the best way to watch it, especially if you have a team you're trying to watch? But yeah, like today was just a perfect NFL Sunday because the Eagles played on Thursday, so I got to just relax. It was great. Yeah. I think that's everything. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I'll always respond. And yeah, thank you for watching.